Aloha, this is Juan Gomez and Christopher Fau, students at BYU Hawaii University. And today we are presenting an article called In Excel, Cell Names Spell Speed Safety by Philip L. Bewig. This was an article published by the Journal of Accountancy in November 2003. In this article, we're going to learn how to name cells and how to utilize referential and absolute referencing. So I'm going to walk you a little bit through the article, and one of the things that we learn in the article is about naming cells. So here we have a little net income. We have the revenue, expenses, pre-tax, earning, tax, net income. So we're gonna start naming cells. So this cell is 597. We can name it. There are different ways that we can do that. We can click over here and name it as revenue. We can do that, and that will be the name of the cell. We're gonna undo that. That's one way. Or we can do Control F3, and the name manager opens, and we can click new, and we can give that cell a name, expenses. And then close it, and then this cell is expenses. Or we can go to formulas, and we can go to name manager and go through the same step. We're gonna name this revenue. Okay, so now we see that we have two cells, revenue and expenses. They're both named. I'm gonna capitalize the E over here, expenses. Yep. Okay, well, so now to do the pre-tax earning, instead of writing equal B1 minus B2, which will give us the answer, we can do something different. We can write equal revenue minus expenses, and it will give us a 210. This is a really useful tool when we want to know exactly what we want to have. We might get confused sometimes if we do like the letter and the number. So doing this avoids problems. So the same thing. If we want to name this cell, we're gonna do Control F3. We're gonna click new, and we're gonna name it. Here shows how it refers to this cell. We're gonna name it pre-tax earnings, and we click OK and close it. So we can do the same thing. Equal pre-tax earning, which is right there, and we're gonna time it 40%, and that's the tax. And then to get we're gonna name the tax cell. We're gonna go Control F3. Hit new. It's kind of cool how it automatically puts in the name right next to it. And then pre-tax, we're gonna do the net income, pre-tax earning minus tax, and we have the net income.
All right, so now we're going to talk about different ways that we'll be able to utilize the naming function in Excel to be able to streamline our work process. So one way we can do that is by naming groups of cells, as we're going to see here, and even columns, as we'll see later. And something that's nice we can do is we can make it an absolute reference, or we can make it a relative reference. So right now what we want to do is we have this data right here we want to find the sum to. So a really easy way we can do that is we can name this cell. We'll go ahead and just name it sales. And then we'll do that. And then if we want to find the total real easily, what we can do is just type in sum and sales, and that'll get that for us right there. Okay, now let's say for example that we want to do we want to reference it to the months as well. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually name a column. So we're going to actually name this column months. And then actually we're going to go through, just kidding. We're going to click on this, and then if we do Control F3, it'll bring us up into the name manager. We'll click new, name this months, and we're going to change the $sign right here means it's an absolute reference. We're going to delete those $signs, and this means it's relative to where your cursor or where you're selecting the data. Okay, so it won't always be column B. Okay, and you'll see why this comes in handy later on. So we're going to click OK, and so we have months created right there. All right, and so what we can do right here now is we can do sum month space sales, and what it'll do is it'll give us the sum of those. Okay, sorry about that. So you have to make sure that you type in the name exactly as you see here, or else it won't read it. Okay, so we make sure we have months typed in, and we can see it took the total of all of these things, of all this data, and summed it up with on this column. Okay, so now that we have this data, it's not an absolute reference, we can go ahead and drag this over to there, and it'll actually bring up the total for February, and that's because its referenced months is relative to where it's at. So we can even drag it even further to March. Okay, so you can see that'll save you a long time. You don't have to go through sum every single time. And as well, we can do it with columns, with rows. So do Control F3 again, bring up the name manager, and then we type in, let's say, region. We'll name that region. And again, we'll remove the $signs and do a relative reference. Okay, and then now this, we'll type in sum, sales, and region. Just go ahead and click on that. And then that'll bring us a sum of that. Okay, so it's quite nice. We'll drop that down there. And there we go. As well, we can do the sum here by just typing in sales. All right. So, and as what's nice as well is you don't have to do completely all absolute and all relative. You can also do a little bit of both. So what we're going to do now, is we're going to select this, the column B, and we're going to mix and match it with absolute and relative reference. So we're going to name this one year to date or YTD. And I think there's actually an Excel name function for that. So we're just going to put my YTD. And instead of removing both absolute references, we're just going to remove one. And so what this does is it'll take the current column we're in, B, and everywhere that it selects after that, it'll also take that into account, okay? And you'll see how that works later on, okay? So let's do that right now. So this, we'll do sum, and we'll do sales again, and then, but we want it to do it from year to date, my YTD. So now you see that it's taken the data from January, okay? Now if we roll over, it'll sum up the next column and add that. So year to date sold that many, and then it'll sum up all of March. So you can see it'll always use the column, but it'll take all of the data from B over and add it up over to D. So it's quite a handy function, and there's a lot of different ways you can use the naming function to utilize all of these different tools that can help streamline your work processes in Excel. Thanks.